Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Timeout Sports Podcast. I'm your host, RJ McNally. Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of things regarding football, basketball, and even some college football. So, without further ado, let's get into today's video. Since we're halfway through the NBA season, I kind of want to talk about my disappointments and surprises so far through this season. The team that has actually surprised me the most is the Boston Celtics. Even though last year the Boston Celtics were the second best team in the whole entire Eastern Conference, and the year before that they actually won a chip, they weren't supposed to be good at all this year. Coming into the season, they really only had two good players, Jaylen Brown and Derek White, since Jason Tatum was hurt, and they just traded away Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. And besides those two players, they didn't really have anyone else that was that good. I mean, they had Peyton Pritchard and Anthony Simmons, but those were kind of like the only good players. Everyone else were kind of nobodies. But somehow, with only two really good players on their team, they found a way to become the second best team in the Eastern Conference once again. To show you how good they are, they beat the Rockets, who have one of the best teams in the whole entire NBA and have two All-Stars on their team. They beat them by 21 with this roster right here. The only good player being Derek White and everyone else being a bunch of bench warmers. When Jason Tatum returns next year, this team's going to be really dangerous. Now, going to the disappointing team, I think that would be the Los Angeles Clippers. Coming into the season, even though the Clippers were one of the oldest teams in the whole entire NBA, they were favorites to win the NBA title. I mean, if Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, and Zubac could stay healthy, that's a pretty dangerous team right there. But instead of living up to expectations, they disappointed immensely. Instead of starting the season at the top of the Western Conference, they actually started towards the bottom with a record of 6-21. 6-21, you got that right. The same record as the Pelicans and Kings, two teams no one thought would do anything. Towards the All-Star break, the Clippers actually got hot, and at one point they were the hottest team in the NBA and rattled off a few games. But as of today, they're a few games below 500, and they're the 10th seed in the play-in. Not what people were expecting at all. Now, moving on from the NBA, I'd like to go to the NFL, where something very important happened today. The one and only Tyreek Hill, or better known as the Cheeto, was actually cut by the Miami Dolphins. Now, if you're unaware, I kind of forgot what injury he had, but I just know during, I think it was like a Monday Night Football game earlier in the season, Tyreek Hill hurt himself against the New York Jets and was out for the rest of the season. Personally speaking, if I were the Miami Dolphins, I would not cut Tyreek Hill. Instead, maybe trade him for a better player out there. Because I know there are some teams out there that are maybe desperate for a wide receiver that are willing to give up somebody good for the one and only Cheetah. For example, let's say his former team, the Kansas City Chiefs, were interested in him, and instead of cutting him, the Miami Dolphins traded him to the Kansas City Chiefs, and in return, they got some second, third round, and maybe first round picks, and maybe like Xavier Worthy, a really good receiver who this year struggled a lot but has a lot of potential, and I could see him, if he went to Miami, he would do pretty good there. But I know Tyreek Hill was a really big head case and kind of taking that team down, especially their morale. So the Dolphins just kind of wanted to get rid of him. He's kind of like a Stephon Diggs on Buffalo, or Stephon Diggs pretty much on every single team. Going from the NFL to college football, we saw something pretty big happen. A few days ago, Sacramento State announced that they will be joining the MAC as a football-only member. And personally speaking, I think this is just a very stupid move. First of all, even though the past two seasons, they've had some pretty good years, like back in 2022 or 2021, I think they went 12-1. They're still not a really good football team. The past few years, they've been pretty mediocre, like last year and the year before that. And unlike North Dakota State, they have not been the best team in all of the FCS. That's North Dakota State. They've won multiple championships. They deserve to go up because I genuinely think maybe next season they can win the Mountain West. Sacramento State is not going to do that. They are not going to go win the MAC. I have a good feeling they might go winless in 2026 and maybe 2027. I think they should just wait a little bit. Maybe have some. I think they should go back maybe to the FCS, maybe have a few good years. Then finally, when they're ready, they can move up. Second, out of all the conferences to join, they joined the MAC. the Mid-American Conference, where most of the teams are in the Midwest of the United States, not in California or in the West Coast. The closest school to them in that conference is Western Michigan, and they're still 2,000 plus miles from each other. So yeah, not a good decision, Sacramento State. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this episode of the podcast. I'll see you guys next week.